All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Guys, I am honored to have with me Dinesh D'Souza. He's got a new documentary out called or entitled Vindicating Trump, and we'll talk about that. But first, I want to talk about the campaign with Dinesh. Dinesh, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show.
Carl, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Glad to join you.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it, especially on a night like tonight. Dinesh, obviously, you're crunched for time. Let's get right into this. We were speaking offline briefly, and I got to tell you, I'm witnessing what's been transpiring through this campaign, particularly Kamala Harris's campaign in the last couple of weeks. And I'm sitting here thinking, if we were living in any other time, this thing would be, just absolutely over. Her campaign it feels like it's in free fall. Obviously, the polling is close. Things are tight. I want people to show up to vote. But give us your take on her campaign. It's a disaster, Dinesh.
It is a disaster. She is a terrible candidate. She cannot answer simple questions. She clearly has no ideas for the future. So it all comes down to, I will lower grocery prices. I'm going to get you a job. I'm going to do this. It's on the face of it laughable. And yet the fact that the polls are close tells me two things. One is that media indoctrination is at an all-time high. Yes. And there are a lot of undecided voters who don't get conservative media. They don't get Breitbart. They don't get you. They don't get me. They are fed an uninterrupted diet of propaganda. And I think the other thing is the Democrats have a really good get out the vote game. Now, I don't know if people are enthusiastic enough, but Democrats have a way of dragging you out of the couch. The good thing is, I think, is that Trump is motivating a lot of people as well. People who sort of have had it and believe the country is reaching the edge of a precipice. And so people who might ordinarily be a little apathetic or lethargic are, I think, getting out there to vote and voting early.
Yeah, the numbers have been impressive. I pray to God that continues throughout election day, and I hope that some of those low propensity voters, as they're called, will get out and vote for Trump. Just a couple of things that happened in the last several of days here, Dinesh. Obviously, you have this comedian that said this just stupid joke about Puerto Rico at Trump's campaign. Obviously, the media went nuts with that, hoping they could ride that all the way to Election Day. And then Joe Biden gives us this manna from heaven. And this guy is a disaster. He opens up his mouth. And I don't think it's sabotage, Dinesh. I just think the guy has dementia and he wants to be tough and he's a little soured. What do you think?
You don't think that Biden said to himself, I'll teach this Indian hooker something. Here we go.
Okay. All right. Let me reel it back a little bit. I think there are moments when Biden says, I'm going to get her. And then there's moments when he's just Biden and he stinks so bad and he tries to play the tough guy and then he gets her in trouble. But I do believe that the entire Biden family, including Jill, would love nothing more than to see her go down in flames. So I do concede that.
No, for sure. And look, the other thing is Trump is a marketing genius. Just look at the iconic images from this campaign. First of all, you start off with the mug shot. Then we got to go to Trump in a McDonald's outfit, serving through the drive-thru. Then you got to go to Trump in the garbage truck. This guy knows that if it was any other Republican, they would be like, well, she's never worked at McDonald's. I'm calling for her to admit she never did. Trump goes and actually starts, learning how to cook the fries. And he shows an extraordinary curiosity about how these McDonald's fries are made. And the best the Democrats can do is say things like, well, that's staged.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, no kidding. And I got to tell you, Dinesh, I haven't been to McDonald's forever. When I saw Trump at McDonald's, I kid you not, I started craving their fries. I was like, maybe I got to pay them a visit. It was absolutely, but you're right. The guy, I'm looking at this situation, obviously with this garbage, now I'm drawing a blank here. But with Biden calling all of us garbage, basically, and then Trump's campaign turning that around within 24 hours. I forgot Kamala Harris even gave a speech. And obviously I went back and looked at it and it was the same old gibberish and the same old talking points, but that's been totally knocked out for the most part anyway of the media cycle. You're absolutely right. His ability to be able to connect with people and to capture whatever moment he's in at the time is fascinating. And I got to tell you, I was watching that speech last night, Dinesh, with him and his with the vest on and all this kind of stuff, dressed like he was going out to pick up more garbage. The guy is hilarious.
Well, this is the key point. I think Trump is doing, in a very subtle way, greatly undercutting the idea that he's scary, he's a tyrant, he's a would-be dictator, he's a Caesar. This has been the staple of Democratic rhetoric, that this is a very scary guy. Now, already he's been in office, and so that by itself undercuts the idea that he will somehow overthrow the Constitution. But I think Trump's humor routines, he's done a number of very humanizing things that have shown people that this caricature of Trump is completely fake. Now, conversely, there was a mask that was put on Kamala Harris. She's this new and improved Kamala Harris. She's Cinderella. She's turning the page. She's really this very bright person. And Kamala Harris, too, has been breaking out of the mask, ultimately by really showing what a vacant person she is. And really annoying. I mean, the combination of vacuity and irritatingness is a lethal combination in politics.
Yeah, I got to tell you, and call me petty here, Dinesh, but I'm sitting here, and whenever I listen to Kamala Harris, it first off, it's hard to listen to her, and I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm trying to be objective. I'm like, if this chick wins, I cannot handle listening to her condescending, nasally little. I couldn't take it for 4 years. I literally could not. I mean, the lady does not have what it takes, whatever you might think about Barack Obama. And I thought he was a snake. He had a certain level of charm that she simply does not have. But I got to say this. I think the thrill is gone, even with the Obamas, Dinesh, with Michelle Obama and Barack Obama coming out and Barack Obama scolding black men. And then you got Michelle Obama following up with that. I think the Obamas are increasingly becoming more and more irrelevant when it comes to the political landscape. What say you?
I mean, I think that they realize that. And that's why if you watch them, the two of them are, first of all, they've become more like each other. So they sound very similar. And their tone is this. Their tone is, we're disappointed in the American people. Like, we thought better of you. You are not living up to our high standards for you. So I think what's really going on is they're bitter and they're angry. And they've learned over the years to camouflage that in this kind of condescending sense of superiority and disappointment. It's kind of like the parent who initially gets very angry at your kid, but over the years you say things like, I'm very disappointed in you. I think that this condescending tone is coming through. And so people are tuning them out. So they know it. We know it. But you're quite right. This is not the Obama of 2008 or even 2012.
Dinesh, let me ask you, was there a point in this campaign? Again, I'm speaking with Dinesh D'Souza. Go out and get his new documentary, Vindicating Trump, and we'll get to that in just a sec. Was there a point in this campaign, because I felt like when they pulled off the coup with Joe Biden, and then replaced him with Kamala Harris, I was a little concerned initially. Not that I didn't think Trump could win, because the assassination attempt had just occurred, and I think people were starting to pay more attention to politics. But it seemed like initially Trump wasn't focusing perhaps on Kamala, maybe still a little bit too much on Biden, and then he made a shift. But it seems to me that Kamala's campaign, they were doing well. This stuff was working, hiding her from the media. But then it took a turn, and she hasn't been doing well since. Did you see that? Do you know when that might have occurred for her?
Her high point, in my opinion, was the debate. She did better than I would have expected. Now, who knows? Carl got the questions in advance. She's pretty good at being able to memorize and just deliver a kind of teacher's report. And she did do that. But I think things began to turn. Remember in 2016, people said the genius of Trump was that he mastered kind of the campaign on social media. I think the genius of Trump 2024 is the podcast. This guy will go on podcasts with like wrestlers, Hogan for 3, Joe Rogan for 3 hours. Then he's on with some other MMA guy. Then he's on with some, very young guy. And in all these settings, he's extremely relaxed and authentic. And I think that's the key word. that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are both extremely inauthentic. Kamala's laugh alone suggests a deep kind of inner nervousness. She doesn't know what to say, so she looks shocked, kind of deer in the headlights, and then she laughs. Tim Walz is so over the top that he is, for a 60-year-old man to be acting this way is downright ridiculous. I mean, this is a guy who, if he sees a mascot on a field, he starts doing somersaults, victory signs, hugs the guy, hugs himself, kicks his right leg up, kicks his left leg up. I mean, you just wonder, what am I actually witnessing here? This is something like out of a slapstick comedy.
I got to tell you, this guy is hilarious. The moment she picked him, I just sat there and said, "Thank you, Lord." I can't believe it. Listen, Dinesh, we got to take a break here. We're going to come back and wrap up with Dinesh D'Souza. Go out and check out his documentary, Vindicating Trump. Hey, Carl Jackson here. A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss, and it is your gain. For the first time ever, you can get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices. That's just $14.88, but it gets even better. For a limited time, they're offering their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. So you can get a queen size MyPillow for just $18.88 or upgrade to a king size for just $1 more. You can get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. Go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, or call 800-858-0263 to take advantage of this wholesale pricing for the first time ever. And on top of that, receive free shipping on orders that are over $75. They have never been offered this low before. There are limited quantities at this price, so the limit is 10. And once they're gone, they are gone. Again, go to MyPillow.com, use the promo code Carl, or give them a call at 800-858-0263. Again, use promo code Carl to get the standard MyPillow for just $14.88, the lowest price ever. All right, welcome back. Again, I'm joined by my guest, Dinesh D'Souza. Go out and get his new documentary, Vindicating Trump. Listen, I want to get right into your documentary, but I suspect, now listen, the election hasn't occurred as of yet, Dinesh, but right now Trump is performing unbelievably well. When you consider the polls, I know the polls aren't necessarily votes, but I suspect, I have a strong suspicion that this gentleman will be vindicated on November 5th of this year.
I think that's right. And I think that we should think of the American people as the ultimate jury, because think of it, this is also a referendum on all the lawfare. And the lawfare was vicious. I mean, 91 criminal charges. Think about this guy, Trump. He goes 76 years of his life, and he's in the tempestuous real estate market of New York. He's dealing with all kinds of people, the mafia and so on, and yet not a single criminal charge. The year he's running for election the second time, 91 criminal charges from multiple Democratic jurisdictions. Wow. But Trump has shown not only an unbelievable tenacity, but the rope-a-dope that he was able to do to sort of deflect these charges, get rid of some of them, punt other ones beyond the election. Even when they got him on the Alvin Bragg case, that was one of the dumbest cases of them all, so it didn't really harm him. It wasn't really the millstone around his neck that the left had expected. But yes, the ultimate vindication does come on Election Day.
Okay, so let's get into your documentary, Vindicating Trump. I didn't watch all of it. I was actually literally out passing out candy and going back and forth and watching some, and I got through half of it. But you brought up some very important points. First thing, when the documentary starts off, and I think this is so very important, and I'm glad you did it, Dinesh. Everybody loved this guy. And when I say everybody, I'm speaking about the elite. I'm speaking about the Hollywood elite. They absolutely adored Trump, whether it was rappers, whether it was giving him an award for his show, The Apprentice, whether it was Oprah Winfrey. Absolutely astonishing. And the moment that this guy decides to run, and then he says he's a Republican, all of that changed.
Here's how I interpret this. There's a scene early on in the film, and it's a very iconic scene. This is, of course, Trump coming down the escalator in Trump Tower. So let's think about that for a moment, because at the top of the escalator, I kind of envision all these cool people, the Hollywood people. Oprah Winfrey's in there, Ellen DeGeneres, all the rest of them. They love Trump. But then Trump does something very telling, very significant. He gets on the escalator. He descends. He goes down. But where does he go down to? In my mind, at the bottom of the escalator, you can kind of imagine the forgotten Americans. And these are the
Man,
guys
that's
who have
good.
been, you know what I mean? They've been shafted by both parties. They've been neglected. They haven't seen their American dream. Jobs are traded away. And they look up at this guy, Trump, and they go, whoa, well, this guy's not one of us, but guess what? He's taking up our cause. And so they become very loyal to him. And conversely, from the point of view of the people at the top of the escalator, they're like, whoa, where's Trump going? He's leaving our camp. He's taking up with these pitchfork people, and he's taking up their cause against us. So you can see almost in a single snapshot why the same people who once adored Trump then turned so viciously against him.
Man, that was a great analogy. I'm going to have to steal that, Dinesh, and pretend like you never said it. That was that was really good. I'm joking, of course, but that was really good. You brought something else up that I thought was absolutely brilliant. You talked about, you were comparing both Trump and Lincoln. And Lincoln and his day was, I mean, people were critiquing him and people were calling him a tyrant. But the issue was slavery. For Trump, it's different. The issue is Trump himself. Explain that.
When the left says Trump is a Caesar, Trump is a dictator, the conservatives are tempted to say, no, he's not. He didn't do anything dictatorial. But I always think to myself, I try to push this a little bit further. Why are they making that accusation against him? Why that one? They didn't call Romney a Caesar. They didn't say that McCain is trying to subvert the Constitution, or George W. Bush, or even Reagan. With Reagan, it was like he's a washed-up movie actor. He's reckless. He'll blow up the world. But they didn't say he was a dictator. So why are they saying that about Trump? And here's my unconventional answer to that question. Because Trump does have a larger-than-life dimension. Trump actually has a certain unique power that makes him singular in our politics. I posed this question to Trump in our conversation in the movie. I said, they keep saying that you called for an insurrection. And I said, as far as I can see, you didn't do that. I said, but if you had called for one, there would have been one. I mean, a real one.
Right.
And there'd be one if you called for one now. And I don't know anybody else in American politics who could do that. I mean, Carl, imagine if Marco Rubio called for an insurrection. I mean, no one would show up, right? Sure. So I was asking Trump, are you aware that you have this kind of a power? And what do you intend to do with it? And he has a very interesting response. But my point is, the left makes this accusation because they recognize that alone in the Republican Party, this guy is an 800-pound gorilla who is capable of taking on the 800-pound gorilla, which is the Democratic regime as a whole.
Man, it's such a good point. And you even, I mean, obviously there are actors inside of the documentary. Again, I'm speaking with Dinesh D'Souza, Vindicating Trump, that portray, if you will, the deep state. You also talk about the family man, but let me get to this deep state issue. There are a lot of people that exist within the deep state, and I think you portray it from what I've seen in the documentary. There's some people that really want to get after Trump and destroy him, do whatever dirt they can bring up to absolutely destroy the man. And then, in my opinion, there are just the bureaucrats that don't want to lose their jobs. They have these cushy jobs that we pay for, many of them that are totally unnecessary, and they're scared that there's a person named Donald Trump that'll actually do something about it.
Exactly. I think if you think about the nature of tyranny in general, you realize that no tyrant, no one, however strong, can dominate a whole society, right? If you're going to be a tyrant, you have to be like the mafia. You have to create a major gang that stretches all the way through the society. And most people aren't going to be motivated by nefarious motives. They're motivated by ordinary motives. They want to get ahead. They want to have security. They want their family looked after. And so what you have to do is you have to corrupt the incentives in the system. So, for example, at the FBI, the ordinary FBI agent just wants to go, come home to his wife. He wants to get a promotion. He wants to get a commendation. He wants someday to be head of a field office. And so the corrupt people at the top say to this guy, they go, listen, the way to do that is to find more January 6th defendants. Don't worry about child trafficking. Don't worry about the border. These are our priorities. And if you get on board with our priorities, we will pat you on the back. We will give you a bonus. We will give you a promotion. So my point is that it is these normal human incentives that motivate ordinary people to be part of what is otherwise a corrupt and tyrannical structure.
Dinesh, I have in the movie you have this gentleman, this actor that's playing Zach, this big tech guy, and he wants to boot people off of social media, and the deep state are working alongside of him, boot people off of social media for misinformation. Talk to us about how important it is to have a Elon Musk. And I got to admit, I was initially a little skeptical, but Elon Musk it appears to be authentic, a free speech absolutist, and I am so glad that he has bought X. How powerful do you think that's gonna be for the 2024 election this year? What type of
honestly,
a difference it's gonna make?
I would say that apart from Trump, he's the second most important figure in the country right now. Why? Because censorship, in order to really work, needs to be comprehensive. You need to lock down all the major platforms.
That's good.
And the left did that. They did that in 2020. They did that after January 6th. They had a stranglehold on American political discourse. And that was, in a very kind of malevolent way, a certain type of an achievement. What Elon Musk did is he destroyed their monopoly. And he did it by grabbing a hold of the feistiest, the most interesting, the platform where all the journalists are. And he essentially liberated that platform. And just by putting conservatives on an even footing with the left, he really showed that those of us, even though we're kind of outnumbered, we're perfectly capable of taking these guys on in the ring. The problem is that in places like YouTube and Facebook, we're not allowed in the ring, or we're suppressed, or we're fighting with one hand tied behind our back, or the referee jumps in the ring and starts pummeling us in the middle of the fight. And so Elon Musk has truly leveled the playing field, and I think he's put pressure on the other censorship platforms. And so as a result, the work he's doing is absolutely critical to saving the country.
Real quick, do you think he is the reason why a Jeff Bezos, owner of Washington Post and obviously of Amazon, the same thing with this gentleman that owns the Los Angeles Times? Do you think Elon Musk motivated them to reject endorsing Kamala Harris?
Yeah, I think that those people have been dragged by the left to an extreme where they are themselves a bit uncomfortable. Now, Bezos' statement, if you look at it carefully, is extremely milquetoast and weak, right? I mean, he's not saying that the Washington Post is biased, even though it's obvious that it is.
Right.
He just says things like, we have to avoid the impression of bias. Well, the way you avoid the impression of bias is to stop being so biased, But
So
he's
true.
like, well, so I think for him, he is playing a little bit of a game, but even that is considered extreme by the fanatics who work at the Washington Post. And I think the beauty of this, of watching all this for me, is that the journalists at the Post are parasites, right? I mean, they don't have a business that's viable. Their ship would sink if Elon Musk
30 seconds,
stopped opening
Dinesh.
his checkbook. So they're the parasites and he's the host. And yet the parasites are trying to tell the host what to do. But the host realized that without me, you parasites are on your own and things aren't going to go very well for you, are they?
Oh, man, I absolutely love it. Listen, we're just out of time. Go out and check out the documentary Vindicating Trump by Dinesh D'Souza. He always does great work, and we're so appreciative of your time, Dinesh. God bless you, man.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you.